Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. Parents, what if we could give you the power to transform your family into something absolutely amazing?
A family where everyone is healthy, gets along, loves Jesus, and has great purpose in life.
Hey, let us flip your thinking to unlock the power God has given you to create your own Crazy Cool family. Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast. Don and Suzanne with you today. Almost spring break.
So let's go on vacation.
Yes.
Woohoo, vacation.
We are talking about vacation today. So not only is it almost spring break, but if you're going to do a summer vacation, better start looking at all the flights if you got to go somewhere or whatever. But, it was somewhere, it was on a show the other day I was watching. It said, man, you only get so many summers with your kids. You only get so many spring breaks. And so, a lot of parents, we don't have the money to go on vacation. We don't have the time to go on vacation. And many times it seems like even if we plan the vacation, we overplan it and it comes back and everybody's mad at each other. And so we're going to talk a lot about all those things around vacation, because, even the research says that kids remember vacations and they remember them as special times.
And they actually, studies have shown that they actually like vacation over toys because that intentional time, that one-on-one time.
That's a made-up statistic.
Probably so, because I guarantee you, if I told my 3 and 4 year old grandsons, you want to go to Disney World, you want this new toy, they'd be like, the toy.
But I do think, but the key is that if you think back, I can remember, my parents taking us to California, and, to Disneyland at that time, and I can remember us, we had a little trailer that was on this place called Pioneer Valley, and we would go out there as a family and ride motorcycles we remember those times we get away, and it could be things that are, some people have special places they go. Some people, it's like we go to somewhere different all the time when we go on vacation.
But we even talked about that at one point. Remember, there was a timeshare thing that we looked into when we were young married, and we decided at that point in our marriage that we wanted to go to different places. We didn't want to go to the same place all the time. But there are families that go to the same place, and that's valuable too, and that counts, and that's vacation.
And so the key is not to have a method of vacation. We're not going to talk about that. It's like there's so many ways vacations can fit any budget. Because they can be local, they can be, more extravagant or whatever. They could be one place, they could be all different kinds of places. But
I remember one year we took all the little girls to Dallas. That was our vacation. Yeah. And so we stayed in downtown Dallas.
We had no money at the time.
Yeah, and we lived, 20 minutes from Dallas, and so it wasn't like we traveled very far. We stayed in a hotel, though.
We did, yeah.
Maybe 1 night, 2 nights.
Yep. And it was a lot of fun. We still have pictures from it, and and they all remember going to the different places.
Yeah, the hotel stay on a vacation, that is not something for the faint of heart or the weary to try to get all those kids to sleep in 2 beds.
Yes, and so really it comes down to thinking about planning, creating intentional spaces for your family. And remember we're in the culture series. And so, how does vacation fit into the culture series? Well, when you go on vacation, you are setting aside time. You get a chance to really listen to your kids. You're in a different environment. You get a chance to have fun with them. Our kids talk about, and it's really true, that it's like I turn into vacation dad.
Yes, Don is a completely different not that he's not fun all the time, but he's more intense in his real life. But vacation Don, oh, so fun.
Well, and so because it's like I will not think about the vacation. We'll plan it and everything, but then I will not think about the vacation because I tend to be focused on what I'm doing. And then the night before, I come home from work. I would come home from work and I'd be like, okay, guess what? We are on vacation. And so, but I love vacation. I love the adventure. Suzanne, you're more of a homebody. And also you had the burden, I think that a lot of wives will relate to in particular, of getting the 7 kids ready for vacation. And so maybe sometimes you weren't as fired up about it
Well,
to
that's
begin
right.
with.
I'm not as adventurous as Don is, and I really value and appreciate that quality in him. I mean, and he challenges me. And I also didn't grow up going on vacation. Our parents, we had a boat at Lake Texoma, and that's what we did every weekend in the summer. But we didn't ever, I don't remember ever going on vacation except for when I was in high school, one vacation to Hawaii one time over Christmas. So that's the only vacation I remember going on. So it wasn't even something that I knew, but I did appreciate Don being adventurous, and I did appreciate the value of pulling away with our kids. I remember one vacation that we went on. Molly was, I think, was 4 and Madeline was 3 months old, and Madeline was an impossible infant. I mean, she cried the whole time. I guess we would say now she has colic or whatever. And, we went to Disney World, you remember? And I remember going and there was more moments of misery than there were of non-misery, because Madeline was crying and I had to sit like in the bathroom with the door closed with her crying so Molly and Dawn could sleep. But I do remember on the back end of that vacation, being away from home, being away from the monotony of the regular life that we had, there's something broke and it changed and it made life more bearable and it made life more fun. And so one of the things that I value about relationship is that it just mixes up the scenery. It changes things. What you do is you literally pick your life up with all your people, but you get to go somewhere, or you go somewhere fabulous, exotic, amazing, and it just changes everything. You get to see your kids through different eyes, and you get to watch them experience and have fun with things that they don't have in their backyard or in their bedrooms.
Yeah, because as it may be exotic or not, but it's exotic to them.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's something different.
Because it's not the backyard.
Literally,
yeah.
we went to that Dallas vacation. We went to this what I think it's called Samuel Farm, which is this farm out on the east part of Dallas. And they were fascinated. They were 4 years old. They're fascinated by that because they've never been to a farm before.
Animals and tractors and yes.
Yeah, and I just remember too that we were just okay at doing vacations when we first started out.
I think Donna's giving us a lot of credit. I would say we were terrible at doing vacation because, I don't know what I mean.
Well, I think one of them is that Suzanne and I were young married couple that we both had our own agendas. Mm-hmm. And so you've got small kids, and we were frustrated, exasperated parents.
Exhausted.
Yes. And so, all that led to...
So just speaking into that for moms and husbands too, know that to go on vacation creates a lot of work. Like Don came home, we're on vacation mode. He packed his bag, gave it to me. I put it in the car, and that was it. Me, on the meantime, was getting the house ready to leave, making sure somebody was taking care of our pets, cleaning out the refrigerator. So you had the whole house project to do. Then packing all the kids, making sure they all had everything they need, getting everything in the car packed up, ready to go, then getting them all the things they need to play with in the car for the road trip, the snacks and the toys and so it was not fun on the front end, and then on the back end, there was a whole lot of work that I think that I went into it like dread, and Don's over there, don't rain on my parade. This is a great time had by all, and I'm bringing grumpy, Suzanne in the road.
Well, and everybody has their own like for example, I was more in charge of the finances. So and the trip travel and trying to make sure that everything was in order. We had the money for it. And so, but once we had done it, spent the money, I was like, okay, we're done with that. Let's go. And so it's like, our point is not that who does what necessarily, but it's more about how to recognize that you've got two different people in the husband and the wife, and you're planning something that's, taking everybody out of the norm, but it's worth it. And so often we let, I think that vacations in the negative sense can do two things. One of them, we don't do it because we think we can't afford it, or if we do it, we don't do it well. And so what we want to talk about today is, one, that vacations are important and they are valuable, and whatever budget you have or whatever you can do. Sometimes the vacation may be going to visit the in-laws. Mm-hmm. Because especially, and some people they love their parents. And so when they go there, I think that our second daughter, Madeline, comes down from Arkansas, and it becomes kind of a vacation for her because she's got 3 kids that are 4, 2, and 6 months. And now she can come, she gets more help. and she loves her family. And so it becomes kind of a retreat for her, So
and it changes the scenery and it's fun for everybody. And so I loved what you're saying, that vacation doesn't have to be an expensive, exotic place. It can just be something different. It can be a day vacation where you drive to a state park and you hang out all day at the state park. You're just, the two things that I would say about that make a vacation valuable is the change of scenery, breaking up the norm of the home, and the intentional time, seeing life through your children's eyes and taking time to do that. Because moms, I mean, we have to get away from the laundry and the grocery list and all the things that are happening at our house. We have to get away from those things, because when we do that, then we see those relationships at such a better level. I mean, we just can interact with them. I mean, Madeline has so much fun with her kids here because I'm doing the laundry and I'm cooking, know?
Right. Well, and so let's go back to what we said, maybe to rethink the definition of vacation, which is to think ahead and create an intentional space. That's all it is. There's so many things that fall into that category. It doesn't mean, so often we think of a vacation as an expensive trip to an exotic place, but it's really not. It's just a place where we think ahead and create an intentional space. It can be something that's expensive and exotic, but it doesn't have to be. And so as you think about and just creating breaks for your family, with that memorable breaks for your family. And so, one of the things to think about is what does that look like in your family? What types of things can you do? And you might think about your family. What was memorable to you as a child? Suzanne, we went on vacations sometimes. I would say Suzanne said they never went on vacation. What was your family like? Did you how did vacations shape your family culture? What do you remember, about your family vacation? I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and he said, his dad, what he remembered was his dad would be driving down the road on the highway with everybody in the car, and he'd be kind of dozing off, and all of a sudden they'd be like, "Dad, you're doing 40 on the interstate. Speed up. Come on," And so he remembers, one of the things I remember is my mom always saying, "Hey, we're trying to figure out how not to be bored." And she said, "Look out the window. Look at the pretty scenery out there." And we're like, "We don't care about the scenery. Can we just get there?" But what do you remember about your vacations and your time? Because that may influence how you do vacations.
Well, and then along with that too, think about what your family's interested in. We have a family that's got 4 little kids, and they love to hike. I mean, and so they go on little hiking vacations, and they love to be outside, and so that's what they do. For us, we didn't love that so much. We did a family camp one time, and the girls were all like,
in Colorado.
I can't believe we're doing this, and the little boys were little. McCade wasn't even around yet. And so now, as we kind of know our family, know our kids, and know what they love and don't love, then the beach, the girls will pick the beach every single time. The boys will pick
snow skiing
every single time.
Yeah,
exactly. And so and so we actually one year, we took 3 vacations, and we took two of the girls to Canada to a wedding, 2 of the girls to Houston just to go see the play Wicked, and then we took the 3 boys to SeaWorld in San Antonio.
Right, yeah.
And so that was one of the first times that we realized, okay, we've got a bunch of kids with different interests. What can we do to have the best vacation for them? And each of the vacations was only 2 or 3 days long. So,
right.
But it was, we took our budget that year, our vacation budget. And that's one of the things I just want to say, is that Don did have a vacation budget. He set money aside for that because vacation was important and valuable to him.
Well, I think that's a great thing to touch on real quick, is that a lot of families don't go on vacation because they say, okay, it's going to cost us $3,000 and we don't have that money. But if you set it aside $300 a month, now you have $3,600 at the end of the year, or at whatever time, and now so it becomes like a car payment or a whatever. We don't really even like debt. I don't like having car payments either. But you set aside funds each month as a reserve so that you can build up, so when it does come, then you don't have that big hit. And that was super helpful to me in terms of being able to think I could afford a vacation.
And there were a couple times that we actually scooped up some of the Christmas budget into the vacation budget. One year, when the girls were little, we went snow skiing, and so part of their present was we were going to go snow skiing. But then they also got the ski clothes, that we had bought, I think, like at a secondhand store or whatever for Christmas. I mean, and so that was one of the ways when we were really struggling. Or like we went to Disney one year and we gave that to them as a Christmas present.
Well, and also
then went in February.
Remember, my parents gave us some money that came in, and so we earmarked. We said, okay, this is found money. We're going to earmark it for a vacation. And some people would say, oh gosh, you should have saved that money, or you should have done that. And we're like, man, why don't we invest in the memories of our kids versus saving that money in this case? Now, we got to hear the Lord. Sometimes the Lord would say save the money. But in that case, we actually did a trip to Disney World that all 7 kids, which was a story in itself of a vacation, 7 kids, 7 days, 2 hotel rooms, 9 of us there. But it was so much fun and we had kids from, I think 18 to 1 at that point, so, but
there's one that I just wanted to talk about for a second is that, the year that my mom died in January, and November was coming around, and I knew that I was going to be so sad because her favorite holiday was the Thanksgiving, and she was an amazing cook. And so I wanted to take our family to go see the Macy's Day Parade in New York. And, we used inheritance money to do that, to go and make that happen. And so now, once again, people would say, no, you need to use your inheritance money for this, that, and the other. But to me, that was the most valuable thing we could have used that money for, is to build that memory and
we didn't use all our inheritance
No,
money.
I mean, yeah, I mean, but we took a chunk of it.
Yep.
And so that's just, so the reason we're saying this is because vacation is important and it's valuable. And we think we should stockpile funds. And yes, that is good. That is really good, but also stockpile memories with your kids, stockpile experiences with your kids. You put a kid on an airplane and it widens their world. I mean, I've taken teenagers on mission trips that have never been on an airplane before. And the experience of just being in another country to them was so overwhelming. And so for us, we said, no, this is valuable that we get our kids outside of our front and backyard to see pieces of the world.
Which, is also another thing that's come up in the last, it wasn't really that big when we were younger, younger parents, but mission trips, and it kind of got derailed a little bit with COVID, but mission trips are another way it's a form of vacation. Again, remember what we said, it's about thinking ahead and creating intentional spaces for your family. Well, mission trips are a great intentional space to put your kid on. And again, we have done mission trips in so many different ways. We've had other people contribute in, and we've raised money for mission trips and all the things that happen, and we've paid for some of them. But I mean, mission trips is another way. And so I think, as we, kind of get to the back half of this podcast, there's so many types of vacations you can do. I mean, everything from, for example, having just a movie day and let everyone, so often Suzanne's really good if we had a snow days the last a few weeks ago. And so everyone picked a movie and watched it. And
we actually pick a series like Ocean's 11, something that's got 3 movies. And so we build a fire, we're in our jammies, we eat in front of the TV, and we eat, watch 1, 2, 3 series in a row. And just to make it fun, if you've got little kids, then build a tent. I mean, they're not going to pay attention to the movie very much. So build a tent so they can watch it and eat in the tent. And everybody's have a slumber party in the same room. Just a vacation really means just mixing up your everyday life into doing something different and doing something fun. And so, yes, it can cost a ton of money, or it can cost no money at all. And you can put it within the grocery budget to get some popcorn. Popcorn makes everything more fun,
Yeah. And so a lot of things we've done, when I traveled, I'd take a kid with me. So,
usually the one that was the most on my nerves.
But what that led us to do was that was a little vacation for the kid,
and exposure to the world.
I've taken, now I'm about to finish up. I've taken all 7 of my kids in one way, shape, or form to Washington, D.C. so they could see the nation's capital. That was important to us, that they understand our history and our heritage, and that they get to see the nation's capital. And so,
I think you took Molly to New York.
I think so, but I mean, we've also taken our kids to New York as well. That's another place that we've gone. But but those sometimes, especially when we've had a lot of kids, we've always had a lot of kids. But I mean, that sometimes dividing it up and taking that one child on a trip. Sometimes people do that with when they turn 12. Or when they become a teenager.
We were never that organized.
No, absolutely not. But,
but it's a good idea.
But, sometimes it's, we've also done a lot in between just Suzanne and I getting away and going on vacation a couple of days around our anniversary a lot of times,
right.
with where we spent time together away from the kids. That's another way vacations are important. And you see the theme, whatever it is, I love it. We talk a lot about creating values in your home. And we believe vacation, loosely defined as we are defining it, is a great value for your home. And what that means is it becomes
your family.
It becomes intentional. So what do? One, you set aside funds for it. You think about it. You plan it. You go, okay, and sometimes it's spontaneous. I mean, and depending on your financial flexibility, it can be either spontaneous or not. Some people, if you've got a budget, you got to really have to plan. But what are you doing to make vacation? And again, what is vacation? It's that thinking ahead and creating an intentional space. Mm-hmm. What are you doing to create that in your home culture, in your family culture?
And so now, let's just touch down really quick. We've talked about how valuable and important vacations are. Hopefully, we've convinced you to take one now. Let's just talk for just a second about the vacation itself. How do we make the vacation be the most incredible, amazing time, and a memory, the kids will remember forever, and not be the parents fighting and the kids all fighting and the stress of being outside of the routine, which is the very reason we went on vacations, to get outside of the routine.
Yeah, I think one word that comes to mind that we have had to learn over the years is just flexibility. That it's important to be able to, and flexibility doesn't mean that it's not planned. It doesn't mean you don't have purpose to it or whatever, but so often I think so often we plan our vacations more than we plan our lives.
I think you're right.
And then we get really frustrated and we try to pack as much as we can into that vacation.
We were notorious for that.
Yes.
And exhaust the kids.
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't fun.
Well, and expect them to do things that they're not really capable of doing. I would get so frustrated when my 5-year-old wanted to keep riding in the stroller because I felt like they could walk and they would just be like, I'm so tired. And so it's like just all the things, but just being flexible, and some of that's just being flexible and fun. Like, one of our themes that, when we go on vacation is we can eat dessert for breakfast. We eat dessert before the meal, because before the meal starts, if we can, like if a place had a little ice cream place, I'd be like, oh gosh, we're on vacation. Everybody get ice cream. Right. And then, and Suzanne be like, well, they'll never eat. I'm like, I don't care. So, just being fun with the flexibility, but also just being fun with your plan and letting your plan have a way out, if you will, for different kids and different, because a lot of times, what happens if a kid gets sick? What happens if, all different kinds of things can happen. Yeah, absolutely.
So many things. Yeah, I love that. And then just another thing too is know that you've got this time set aside on vacation to work on the relationship and enhance the relationships. And so it's almost like you've been put in a pressure cooker when you put all the relationships in the car together and you drive for so many hours together and you're uncomfortable. It starts out as an adventure, but so many hours in, everybody's tired and exhausted and on each other's nerves. And so what are you going to do? Are you going to join the negative Nellies and be whiny and complaining? Or are you going to step up and create some fun in the memories? Like Don's mom said, look out the window, create a game. And so moms, a lot of the times that falls on us. We're the ones that have got to come up with that creative, fun thing to do. Dad's driving, thinking about, where we're going and what we're doing, and kids are all fighting. And so I just encourage you moms to kind of have a plan before you go in. Have some games to play. Or one of the things that we did is we listened to the C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And so so that was a great thing to entertain the kids for a little while. Nowadays they have technology, and so you can put that in front of them. But for us, the technology that we had, it was we actually didn't let him use it. We didn't let him look at it. And our kids will all say, yeah, we'd go on a road trip and Dad wouldn't let us, listen to our iPod or whatever that was.
What I wouldn't let them do is put their headphones in.
Yeah, Dad wouldn't let him put his headphones in.
Yeah, and so they got really upset. They sometimes you create negative memories in your kids' heads because of the things you do as a parent.
But the heart behind that was, we're all in this car together. We're not together. Let's make memories together.
Let's don't isolate ourselves
in the car.
Let's don't
isolate ourselves.
And I told them that. They didn't really listen. But they didn't really buy into that.
Like, we need to be isolated right now, and we hate each other.
But and just with that, we've probably made every mistake in the book we could make with vacations. But the key is that our kids don't remember them. They remember a few of the mistakes. Like they remember a few of the things that were negative. But for the most part, they remember being together. And one of the things that vacations do is it puts all your kids together. A lot of times people ask, can I take friends on vacations? And we didn't do that a lot. I mean, now, again, it's not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that we had enough kids. We had enough.
Right.
We had a full car usually, but also this was a time that all our kids could be together and we could promote the kid-to-kid relationship. And so, or it was maybe me and a kid or two, or Suzanne and a kid or two. And so you promote those relationships. But it's just different when you take a friend.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we drilled that into them to such a degree that when we went on that Disney World trip that Don was talking about, we all went to all the parks all together the whole time, like one giant 9-person glob.
Yes.
And Don was like, and I know why. It's because we said, now listen, Disney, you girls have been to Disney, so this is really for the little boys. We're going to do things for them. And the girls wanted to see the little boys and how they reacted. And so we all traveled together. And at one point in time, Don's like, girls, you guys can go to another park if you want to. You can do whatever you want. And they're like, wait, what, really? And we're like, yeah, you can. And they're like, we're out of here. And so anyway, all that to say is that it's important and valuable when you go on those relationships to knit, or go on those vacations to knit those relationships together. We would, if we got a souvenir, we'd buy them each a souvenir that they could interact and play with each other, like a Mickey or a Minnie Mouse or something like that, so that we were constantly, turning them toward each other. Tell everybody what your favorite part of the day was. And anyway.
And just, talking about how to create good vacations, flexibility is one of them. Is, those type things like eating dessert for breakfast or eating, though you create, and some parents would be, I'd never do that. Okay, that's great. What are your memories? What are your things? What are your things you're going to do that, on a road trip we do this, and
tell knock jokes.
Yes.
Or, yeah.
And that's why, just like we talk about with every family is going to be unique, your family is going to be unique. But all we're saying is look to think ahead and create the intentional spaces and then do it your way. It's a way for you to express yourself. It's a way for the kids. And then ask them what they want to do. So often it's where do you want to go on vacation? And you might be surprised at what they want to do, because so often we think, well, they want to do this, and so we're going to do this. And they're like,
yeah, like Maddox wants to go see the trees, the giant trees in California,
the sequoias.
Yeah, and McCade wants to go to Hawaii.
Yeah,
and so
I guess maybe we can go see the sequoias on the way to Hawaii. Maybe, I don't know, but. And just it's another way to on the podcast. We've been talking about Safe Haven, how to listen to your kids.
Yeah.
Well, talking to them about vacation gets them just dreaming. I mean, everybody wants to talk about vacation. If you want to, and then you got to be careful with that, because you can't create. They can create expectations, and so you got to kind of temper that a little bit with what's available or whatever. But just let them dream and say, where do you want to go, and then, hey, we're going to try to make that happen. Those are great conversations to have with your kids. And then you start to plan that from what they say.
Another thing that Don was an advocate for was not surprising the vacation. Like when we were going to go to Disney, I was like, let's let's surprise them. Let's, you've seen it on the, reels or whatever. Let's wake him up that morning and get him on the plane. And he's like, are you kidding me? We're going to tell them the second we've booked it, and we're going to talk about it every day until we go, because I want as much
benefit. Oh my goodness. We're going to get as much benefit as we can. We're going to be like, we're going to threaten them if they do something wrong. We're not going on vacation. No, not really. but I mean,
empty threat. Don't bother.
Yeah. It is really a good thing to play up the vacation. It creates a lot of good memories, a lot of good thoughts. Anticipation is a good thing. Even delayed gratification.
Yeah,
hey, you know what? Guess what? In 2 months, we're going to be getting on an airplane. Oh, wow. And you can just come in and that's a way to be an encouragement to your family. And they go, oh, yeah, that's true. That's going to be, think about what we're going to do. Let's watch this video on this Disney vacation and what all we're going to do with this, or whatever Disney, or whatever skiing or beach or whatever it is. Hey, there's a YouTube beach video. I bet that looks a lot like what we're going to go. Those things are awesome. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is something I learned, because I was like, yeah, let's surprise. And somebody told me that. It's like, don't do that. You waste 3 months of benefit. And it's like, oh, what a great idea. That's awesome. So as we wrap up, I just hope that we have encouraged. I just think as you listen to a podcast on vacation, doesn't it get you excited? And doesn't, that's what vacation we want to do with our family. Yeah,
and if you're on the fence about vacation, I hope this pushes you over the fence and into, yes, let's do it. Whatever it costs, whatever the discomfort, or, whatever we have to sacrifice for it, let's do it. It's worth it.
And even if you have to start saving now, maybe you start vacations 6 months from now, a year from now. It doesn't, again, it's not like you've got to have this pressure to do it now. It doesn't need to create pressure. It needs to create life. And so as you do it, whatever that looks like in your home, whether it's short-term, long-term, extravagant or not, I mean, the key is going back to what we said, thinking ahead, creating intentional spaces for your family. So we hope you have a great spring break, whatever you plan to do. We hope you have a great summer as you plan the summer out. And we'll be, and as we're going through, remember in our series right now, we're going through the series on creating culture in your home. So keep listening to that. Vacations are a part of the culture. Listening's a part of the culture. Thank you for being here, and go be crazy. crazycoolfamily.com.